It was the biggest storm I've ever been in. I remember as it was passing through, just worshiping in my living room, scared to death, praying that no trees would fall on my house because I was hearing tons of crashes and all these things around our house, and it was terrifying. And then we kind of drove around instantly after and saw just crazy damage. We saw, main roads completely underwater. We saw trees crushing cars, crushing homes, power lines out. And at first, I didn't know how far or how badly the surrounding area was hit. But it took several days due to no cell service and just kind of our limited area to understand that, wow, there are people that lost their entire houses. I had coworkers that were displaced or that were found in their homes after a landslide had happened. And it just went bigger and bigger and bigger, just the catastrophic nature of the storm. It was just a continual, for weeks, just seeing more and more devastation and how big of a deal this actually was. When the storm first hit, I really, the first thing that came up in me was honestly I want to get out of here. I want to be comfortable. I want to have running water. I want to be safe. And I had an opportunity just in those early days to meet with Jesus and just start praying and getting his heart for the situation we were in. And I felt like he specifically gave me Isaiah 61, which is, a very time is now word. The Spirit of the Lord is on me to bind up the brokenhearted, to set free the captives, to proclaim liberty and rebuild ruins. And that was kind of like a verse that really grabbed onto my heart during this time. And in the days following the immediate storm, when we would go out into communities and when we would just meet people and serve people and love people, that verse was really deeply in my heart. It gave me a lot of faith that God is actually on the move in these moments, and he's actually doing something very powerful amidst devastation and amidst ruins. He wants to rebuild, and he wants to bind up the brokenhearted, and he wants to restore. And so, that's something I got to witness, and that's something the Lord spoke to me early on that gave me the strength to kind of press into the city instead of run away from it. In the immediate aftermath, we honestly kind of adopted this attitude of just do anything and everything we can for anyone that we see. We took a minivan, started driving around, and just anyone that was on their porch in these neighborhoods we would go to, we would just say, hey, how you doing? Do you need anything? Do you have things? And if they didn't have something, we'd write it down and we'd try to find that thing for them, whether it was gas for their generator, whether it was clean water. We would literally just go around and talk to anyone we could, try to meet any little need we could. There wasn't a big system to it. And that was just a glorious time that we got to pray with so many people, that we got to be the word of encouragement and comfort. And we got to just go to areas that we have never been to in the city before, that have kind of been neglected or hidden. We really just did anything and everything. And it was very scrappy, and we had very long days, and we saw God miraculously provide so many things in that short time. It was incredible. Acts of Mercy was here very soon after the storm came. They came as soon as they could. That meant the world to us and to me. First and foremost, to just know that hey, we're seen. There's people that care about us, that are trying to help, that are actually trying to get behind us. And we're just this little church in Antioch, in this Antioch movement, and the fact that people would actually care and come and spend their time and resources and leave their comforts and their families to come just help us was so encouraging. Not only that, but the just flood of volunteers that we had in the following months was incredible. It not only was it made everything we did possible. We did food distribution, we did lots of different tasks and cleanup and all these things. But the fact that we had all that volunteer, all those hands working was incredible. But it was also just a very deep encouragement to me and to us personally. I just got so encouraged in the Lord by everyone that came out. I felt like we got just vision for what God's doing in our church, what God's doing in us personally. Everyone that came out just came so ready to encourage and to love on us, and we made some new friends that way. And it was just a really, really fun time all around getting to be with Acts of Mercy, and it really lifted our spirits in a really heavy situation. There were so many stories of Jesus showing up in radical ways in the first several months of the aftermath of Helene. I specifically remember our very first day kind of going out to see who we could serve. I remember praying and the Lord gave me a name. I believe it was Cynthia. And I just kind of kept that in my heart. And as we were going around, we were in this neighborhood, and these two cars drove by that were just packed to the brim full of stuff. And they didn't seem like they were really like in place with the rest of the neighborhood. And they kind of like rolled down their window and stopped us as we were going out in the streets, and they asked, "Hey, does anyone know, is there any place to stay? Our home was completely destroyed. Like, we are fleeing our neighborhood, we're fleeing our house that's completely underwater. We have our dogs with us, we have all the stuff we could shove into our cars with us. This is all we have left to us, and our house is gone, our homes are gone, and we have nowhere to go." And I remember they were just on the verge of tears as even explaining the situation, and they were afraid and they felt like they had no options. And I remember asking what the wife's name was, and it was Cynthia, the name that God spoke to me earlier that day. And I got to just tell her that, like, the Lord told me that I was going to meet you today, and I know you feel like your back's against the wall and that like everything's been taken from you and there's no one to help you, there's no one available. But I got to tell her that like Jesus sees her and Jesus loves her and Jesus knows what she's going through. And then we got to talk to them and kind of distill some like emergency options for them, some next steps for them that really just gave them clarity, because when you're in that crisis mode, you just really don't have the time to think about what a good next step is. And I think we were able to really like just minister a word of comfort and encouragement to them, and also just give them clarity on like, okay, this is the best next step forward for you. They had a friend a couple towns over that they were able to like, you know, ask for some help and go to them. But that was a really amazing story of Jesus just like really seeing this beautiful couple that had just lost their home in the mountains. And there's so many other stories like that. There's so many stories of just anyone that received food, received like a donation from us at our distribution sites. Like, there were so many times that we got to pray with them and just give them words of encouragement and just the supplies that they need. And so many people were brought to tears as we prayed for them, knowing that like, we're giving them these materials, but God is with them, and God is giving them a peace that passes understanding that even these tangible things can't give them. So I got to see a lot of that happen. It was really, really powerful to watch. There are a lot of practical needs still in the community. You know, the community is a little bit back on its feet. So there's power, there's water, restaurants are open. We have kind of a sense of normal now, but you will still see so much debris in so many places. You will still see so much of specific areas of the city that are still destroyed. There is a whole like center of shops that were just destroyed, and that is still taking so long to come back. There's still kind of ground level stuff being done of just demolishing buildings or rebuilding things. And there's also just a huge spiritual need. I think people are still carrying the storm really deeply in their hearts. I work at a school. Teachers all the time are talking about Helene and the impact that had. There's people that are still trying to find work or trying to figure out their next steps. And so there is still a lot of need. And especially in the lower income communities that we've been serving and getting involved with, a lot of those, there's just been some open doors that God's given us through the storm that are really good opportunities to build just life into these low-income communities. So the storm really opened up a door for us to initially meet a lot of these people, and now I feel like there's the new thing that God's doing is He's wanting us to partner with and build a church through some of these neighborhoods that we got to to meet. So there's a lot of need there. There's a lot of hunger and spiritual hunger that was awakened during the storm. And there's still so much need for laborers to come out and harvest that hunger and to tell people the good news of Jesus and kind of, meet that hunger that's still here. I think if there's anything God has been really teaching me through this whole process is He's been really challenging me to give what I can and really challenging me against a kind of self-preserving attitude. In this recovery process, in those early days when the resources were running low, it was very easy to be like, oh, I have these things, I can't give them to someone else because I don't know where I'm gonna run out if I give. And that pertains to, water and food. That also pertains to like your energy and your time. All those were stretched very thin, and it's really crazy when we just don't know where that's gonna be coming from. And I think God's really shown me that like His heart is He will always meet your need when you sacrifice and when you give. When you serve someone else, He is always able to meet that need for you. He won't leave you stranded when you are obeying His call to love someone else. And so that's been something that I've really been learning a lot, that just love first. Just love boldly, love first. Don't think about it too much. Don't worry about where your provision is going to come from, but just boldly love, and God will meet you there. I would want to say, if you have prayed for Asheville, if you've come to Asheville, if you've texted any of us who are in Asheville or done whatever you could to help us or let us know that we're seen and loved, I just want to say thank you. That was very important. And there were so many people we met that didn't have anyone reach out to them, after the storm hit, that they were really alone. And I think I just want to say thank you to anyone that reached out to us, that made us feel like we were seen and loved and supported. And that gave us the ability to do that to other people. I just also want to say that God's on the move in Asheville, that the city is changing, the city is waking up, that the church is waking up in Asheville. And it's just a really beautiful time to be in Asheville for such a time as this, to see many come to know the Lord, to see many know His love, and to see the church truly look like a church that serves humbly in this city. So it's amazing to be a part of it. I hope you can be a part of it too in some way. Come on out, we'd love to have you.